Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into what we're calling the 2025 privacy stack. If you've ever felt like you're fighting this impossible battle trying to manage a bunch of online accounts for work, I'm here to tell you it is not just you. There's this invisible system that's actively working against you, and today we're going to pull back that curtain and show you exactly how it works and, more importantly, how you can beat it. I mean, think about it. If you're in marketing, e-commerce, maybe security, this is just your day-to-day, right? Juggling dozens of logins. You've got one for this client's social media, another for that ad account, a third for some QA testing. It all feels pretty normal. But have you ever stopped to notice how much harder it's getting to keep all those digital lives from, well, bleeding into each other? Yeah, every single time you switch accounts, you're basically fighting an uphill battle. There's this hidden system that's been specifically designed to recognize you, no matter which login you happen to be using. It's quietly linking all your activities in the background, which, can lead to anything from just skewed analytics all the way up to accidentally getting a client's account flagged or even banned. It's a real problem. So, what is this invisible force? Well, in our first section here, we're going to expose a technique that websites use to track you with honestly surprising accuracy. It's called browser fingerprinting. The name itself is actually a perfect analogy. Just like your real fingerprint, it's made up of all these tiny, unique details. But instead of whorls and ridges, websites are collecting dozens of what seem like totally harmless bits of data about your device. When you combine them all, though, these clues create a digital signature that is so unique it can pinpoint you out of millions of other people. And just look at what goes into this fingerprint. We're not talking about your name or your email here. It's things like your screen size, the specific fonts you have installed on your computer, your time zone. Individually, none of these details mean a thing, but the combination of all of them together, it's so specific, so unique, it can identify you with startling accuracy, even if you clear your cookies or hop on a different Wi-Fi network. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, I use a VPN, or I just use incognito mode, I'm fine. And look, for a long time, those were the go-to answers for online privacy. But the game has seriously changed, and those old tools are now playing a frantic game of catch-up. Okay, here's the hard truth. Incognito mode? It's really more of a forget-me-later button. All it does is delete your local history and cookies after you close the window. And a VPN? That's great for hiding your IP address and your location, for sure. But here's the crucial part. Neither of them does a single thing to change or hide your browser's unique fingerprint. To the website you're visiting, you still look exactly like you. Let's think about it this way. A VPN is kind of like changing the license plate on your car. Yeah, it hides one really key identifier, but the car itself, the make, the model, the color, it's all identical. Browser isolation is something completely different. It's like getting a brand new, totally clean, generic rental car for every single trip you take. It's a fundamentally different way of thinking about your online identity. So if the old tools just aren't cutting it anymore, what does? Well, this brings us to a whole new generation of technology that was designed specifically to solve this exact problem of fingerprinting and account cross-contamination. The big idea here is to move the browser off of your computer entirely. These new tools, they run real desktop browsers, but in the cloud. So that means each tab you open isn't just a tab. It's a completely separate, totally isolated environment. Just imagine having a brand new, pristine computer for every single task, which then gets completely wiped clean the very moment you're done. That is the level of isolation we're talking about here. So how does a tool like Send.win actually pull this off? How does it build this modern privacy stack? Well, it's not just one single trick. It's actually a combination of distinct layers, all working together to create a truly secure and separated environment for each and every one of your online identities. It really boils down to this three-part structure. First up, isolated execution. Every tab is its own container, so there's literally zero chance of cookies or data bleeding between your accounts. Second, you get a stable network ID. You can assign a consistent IP address to a specific project, so to that website, you always look the same every time you log in. And third, secure access. You can share a live session with a teammate with just one click without ever having to give them a password. So what does this mean for you day to day? Well, it's huge. True profile isolation means your tests are clean and your accounts don't get accidentally linked up. Remote execution means any malware or phishing attempts, they happen way out there in the cloud, far away from your actual laptop. And sharing access instead of passwords, come on, that is just a massive security and efficiency win for any team out there. All right, so that's all the theory. But how does this stuff actually work in practice? Let's take a look at a couple of real-world workflows for a few different professional teams. First up, let's talk about search engine optimization, or SEO. Professionals in this field, they're constantly needing to check search engine results pages, or SERPs as they call them, from all these different locations to see how websites are ranking. The big problem is search engines personalize everything based on your history and your location, so getting a clean, unbiased view is next to impossible. With a cloud browser, the whole workflow becomes so simple and clean. You just spin up 3 isolated sessions. Then you assign each one a proxy from a different city, say New York, London, Singapore. Then you can run your searches and see the actual unbiased results for each region side by side with 0 data contamination. And the reason this works so incredibly well is that each session is a completely fresh start. The data you're getting is pure. It's not influenced by your past searches, your location, or any of that leftover data junk, what some people call cookie cruft. You're getting the ground truth, which is exactly what you need to do accurate analysis. Okay, now let's switch gears to a really critical use case for any IT or security pro, dealing with suspicious links. We all get them, right? Those emails or messages with a link where you're just not sure you can trust it. The old way of doing this involved using a virtual machine, which is, let's be honest, it's slow and it's clunky. The new way, you just open that link in a disposable cloud browser tab. You can investigate it completely safely, and when you're done, you just close the tab, and poof, the entire environment, any potential malware, any trackers, is instantly and permanently destroyed. This is what security pros call remote browser isolation, or RBI. By moving all that risk from your local machine to a disposable container in the cloud, you're essentially creating an air gap. Your computer never even touches the potentially malicious code. It is a massive leap forward for endpoint security. All right, finally, let's talk a little bit about philosophy. The whole world of so-called anti-detect browsers has a bit of a reputation, so it's really important to distinguish between 2 very different approaches to managing your digital identity. On one side, you have what's called heavy spoofing. This is a really aggressive approach that tries to constantly lie about every single detail of your fingerprint. It's brittle, it often breaks websites, and it can actually end up looking more suspicious to modern detection systems. On the other side, you have clean isolation. Here, the goal isn't to deceive anyone. It's simply to keep your legitimate accounts separate. This approach is way more stable and compliant. And this is a really, really important point from the source material we looked at. These are powerful dual-use tools. The smart professional way to use them is for legitimate work, separating client accounts, conducting secure research, making sure your data is clean. It's all about building walls between your projects, not about breaking down doors. So as we wrap things up here, it's really worth asking yourself this question. In a world of constant tracking and super sophisticated fingerprinting, are the tools you're using today really helping you stay in control? Or are they accidentally letting that invisible force work against you? The next generation of browsers is here, folks, and it's built on a foundation of isolation. Thanks for watching.